Welcome, everybody. Scott, welcome to the water table again, bud.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Episode 4, I believe. And we got an interesting one today. Today is credit manager. So, in my estimation, one of the most advanced tools that we offer. Definitely one of the most technically difficult to provide. Um, the amount of code gymnastics that had to be done to provide the ability to configure everybody's individual priority of use, understanding all the legal requirements based on every water type, and the changing allocations every year. Uh, Pretty amazing feat that you and your development team have been able to provide. But at the same time, the one that brings the most questions, maybe the one that frustrates landowners the most. So let's spend a good amount of time here. So if you're watching, strap in a little bit. We want to make sure that for those that really want to understand the credit manager and how to use it and how it works, that we give them ample enough time to walk through this without leaving, hopefully not leaving anything out. So how does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So before you fire away, let me throw out a couple of questions, kind of our FAQs for the credit manager, so to speak. So one is what is priority of use? That's one we get all the time. The obvious one, what's the credit manager? What are credits? And why do I have to do this? And then once I understand the credit manager and I maybe understand the priority of use, what can I configure? What do I have to configure? And what if I do nothing at all? What happens? So with those three things in mind, Scott, I'm going to kick back and keep quiet and take us on our journey to the credit manager.
All right, thank you, Chris. So, as Chris was saying, the credit manager is probably the most complex tool that we have on the dashboard. And the reason, as Chris stated, is that we have so many different rules and regulations and limitations on the different types of buckets of credits and how they can be utilized to offset ET. Not just depending on, simple things like purveyor, but even allocation year. For example, some of those buckets have different rules, like the 23 tier one was free in 22, but it'll cost you if you use it in 23. So we tried to create a tool that meets most of those needs and checks most of the boxes. We understand that this is a tool that's probably going to be the most heavily developed out of all the tools that we're doing on the dashboard and probably continually experience the most change. Um, each year I try and meet with landowners at our workshops and I get a lot of feedback based on the credit manager and we're trying to incorporate that. So this is where we're at as of now. I can't promise or guarantee that it'll stay the same. I can almost guarantee that in future years there will still be more changes coming down the line as we try to take that landowner feedback and try and adjust to what you guys need. But I'm going to do a quick deep dive into the credit manager, how it works, and some of the changes that we've had this year. So, based on the overall lookout, it's very similar to how we did the 23. We just added a couple of new line items like this used row right here into the top summary. And we also tried to reduce some of the clutter that we had down here. Previously, we had a lot of transferred in, transferred out columns that were getting confusing for landowners, so we just took those out. And so it's very simply just going to tell you what was available, what was used, and what was remaining. And so to start looking at my credit manager, I'm going to come up here to this top right button, start managing credits. I'm going to go ahead and click that. This right here will just give me a brief summary. I can go ahead and hit next. So as it was asked earlier, how do I change my priority of use? this right here is where you're going to change your priority of use. So the default priority of use is going to be groundwater first, starting with the oldest historical available, moving towards your newest credits, followed by surface water, followed by additional purchased water, and then lastly at cost water. So one thing to make note of, you can see here that under groundwater credits, I see this 27.44 acre feet. So if you watched our previous video where we did a demo on the credit deals, we had elected to buy some of that 23 tier 1 water of the 250 as part of our demo. And so what that did was that converted it from the 23 tier 1 down here over to a groundwater credit. And this is going to be the same for any extended groundwater, whether it's 22 or 23. Anything that you purchase, we'll pull it from that bucket over into this groundwater. So we have it listed here after surface water. Since you guys are paying money to extend that credit, we figure you probably don't want to use it right away. Down here we have the mitigation. Same thing in the demo. I bought 10 acre feet. So you can see that 10 acre feet showed up there. If you're a landowner that worked with me previously and bought it before we open up this credit manager, that water should already be preloaded onto your account. If not, make sure you give me a call and reach out to me so we can get that updated and corrected. To change my priority of use, you just use these up and down arrows to go ahead and do that. Over here, we added the total available credits so you can get a good idea of what each bucket supply is looking like. And that's just an additional view tool to kind of help you out as well. Once I've gone ahead and adjusted my priority of use, I'll hit next. This surface water priority of use is a brand new tool that we added. And the reason for that is because we realize that some APNs may have multiple purveyor types of water in there. And historically, we weren't able to differentiate what was being used first on an APN for surface water to offset ET. So to help address that concern, we added this priority. If you have a single purveyor type like this one, you only get one. If you're groundwater dependent, this will be blank for you. If you have multiple purveyors across multiple APNs, all purveyors on the account will be listed here. And what this tool is going to look at is when it runs an APN, it's going to then go over to the surface water bucket if you hit it, and then start working down your priority of use. So if I had multiple, like say LSID, for example, I could put my LSID water here first, and then I could use the down arrow and move my Wachumna water down last. Once I've gone and settled that, I'll go ahead and hit next. Manual transfers is the same as it's been historically. We haven't made a lot of changes. One thing to keep note of is that if you are doing manual transfers, it is a good idea to turn off auto transfers, as auto transfers still may impact some of those manual and shift credits around. And so I usually say do either one or the other. The auto transfer here, this is something that is default turned on. So in 22, we had it turned off because landowners said we want to have control and manage our credits. But after doing 22 invoicing, the request from landowners then became, hey, how can you guys reduce my bill as much as possible right off the start and minimize what I need to do on this tool? And so the default now is to automatically have that turned on. If you ever need to turn it off, you can just click on the toggle and they'll turn it on and off for you. For the most part, 99.99% of landowners just ignore that transfer limits tool. That's generally an administrative tool that I use to help landowners if they have more complicated or specific requests that they need regarding how they manage their credits. So if you fall into that boat, feel free to play around with it if you want, but I highly recommend that you give me a call and set up an appointment so that way we can walk through it and I can sit next to you on the same computer as we do it. Once you've gone ahead and finished all that up, we'll come down to the submit and go ahead and hit update settings. Once it's done saving, I'll go ahead and process all your changes that you've made. And then at that point, you're going to go ahead and begin reviewing your account. So one of the main changes we made under APN right here is we set up fields. And so we understand that landowners don't really view things by APN or acres, but they view it by fields and field titles. So that is a change that we took to heart and implemented here. If you do need to change your field name, you can come over here on the left-hand side under farm map and go ahead and set your field names there. We have other tutorials on YouTube that cover this as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to look us up and view those YouTubes. Once you do that, you're going to go ahead and look, just verify your ET, is everything correct? Your available credits match up, what was used in this balance. If you have any questions about this balance or audit, you can hit this show details right here. And this will give you a checkbook, line item balance with how each bucket of a credit was used to offset your ET usage. So you can see here we started at 104.11 and we worked our way down. You can see that credits was transferred out here and here and added over here. And then that was transferred out and added over here. That's how we ended up with that final total right there. Once you reviewed everything and you find everything satisfactory and good to go, you can go ahead and hit this submit finalized changes. And that'll go ahead and lock everything out. Where we're currently at right now, historically we used to have an invoice. We're not doing invoicing until after April 15th. So you guys won't see an invoice appear there until after everything's been finalized. If you do need to come back, we did unlock this tool for users. So users at any time can come in here and unlock this, make changes and resave it as many times as necessary through April 15th.
No, thank you very much. And I appreciate the time you spent walking through that. I have a couple of questions followed that may help some of our landowners viewing this. So I walk through this deal, get my order of use right. I'm good. I hit submit. I audit it, check that out, and realize that's not what I wanted to happen. How many times can I run this tool?
Unlimited.
Oh, so I could go back in and change it and see the results.
Yeah.
And then if I don't like that, I could do it again and again until I like it.
Yeah, so historically in 22 and 23, we had it locked out, and you'd have to call a GSA staff in order to get unlocked. And that was due to the fact that we were auto-generating invoices once you submitted the credit manager. So in 23, for example, you would hit submit, and then it would generate an invoice. You'd be able to go over to your invoice tab and pull up, what you'd have. But due to the fact that now we're not billing until after the 15th, and send anything out. We gave users the ability to go in there and unlock it as many times as you want up to the 15th.
Okay. So just wanted to get the point across, take some of the fear away that if I do this the wrong way, that man, I can really hurt myself. So you can do this as many as you want. You can do it a bunch of times and then decide, how can I call Scott and have him do it for me? There's not really a way that you can harm yourself by manipulating or going through the credit manager. So I'm going to make that point. Let's talk about invoices. So one thing I want everybody to be aware of, everything that East Korea has done has been driven by landowner input. So the dashboard itself. Landowners came in during the development of it and told us what they wanted, how they wanted it to look, what colors they wanted, every nuance and detail. And then we developed from there. And then we've gone back to landowners on a continual basis to get feedback and input. So everything is as close as we can get it to the majority of the feedback that we provide. Now, we're not going to, hit a home run to everybody because you can't. But if you're kind of wondering why things are set up a certain way, this is just direct feedback. So in 22, as we started to develop and then go into our first billing cycle, one of the thoughts process and some of the feedback was, don't come to us and say, what's the Ronald Reagan joke? Hey, here we're the government. We're here to help. And tell people what they had to do with their credits, right? These are credits that were given to them by paying their assessments. And so it's up to the landowners to decide what to do with that. So we provided summary of account and an invoice, and we did all that. And then the feedback we got was, well, a couple things happened. One, people were paying bills that they didn't owe money to. So we obviously don't want to collect money that's not due. So we did a lot of refunds. And then it just actually caused some confusion. And so the feedback we got now is to don't send me an invoice, auto mitigate using the credit manager. Is that kind of where we're at now?
Yeah, where we're essentially at now is landowners have basically requested simplify, simplify, simplify. They wanted to reduce the amount of numbers that were showing up everywhere. They appreciate the data, but the data was very easy to get lost in and confused. And so for the majority of landowners, they generally want a thumbs up, thumbs down kind of analysis. Am I good? Am I not?
Yeah.
So the changes that we've tried to make are towards that goal of giving you a quick snapshot where you should be able to come on here and very quickly go, am I good or am I bad? And do I need to do something?
Yep. And that's what we're trying to accomplish. I kind of equate it to my electric bill. You get an electric bill. If it looks on par, you just want to pay it. If it doesn't look on par, I want the tools to figure out how many kilowatts I use and what tier I was in and all that. And they provide that, which is great. So we're trying to do the same thing, trying to make it, quick, easy, but also provide you all the tools, advanced tools that you need to kind of dig into it if you have questions. That's fantastic. Any last thoughts on the credit manager before we let folks go?
Um, just take your time with it, play around with it. Like Chris said earlier, there's not much harm that you can do when it comes to the credit manager. You can unlock it and lock it as many times as you need right now. So it's a really good time just to kind of dig in and get yourself accustomed to it. Play around with your buckets, see what the different totals kind of add up and line up and do, and how it kind of affects your carryover and bills. And, as always, if you have any questions, always feel free to give me a call. My number is 559-697-6095, or you can reach me at our groundwater at ekgsa.org email and set up an appointment. And I'd be more than happy to sit at my computer with you or talk with you over the phone as we kind of work through the credit manager and get your account settled. So you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to feel like you're alone. We're here to help you. So any questions that you have whatsoever, feel free to give me a call.
Thanks, Scott, for joining me on another edition of the Water Table.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
And for all you who's watching, please make sure you reach out at our email address, phone number, and website, links provided.